I wanted to ask you, actually, obviously, you will have seen him close up in terms of like his training methods and how he goes about his business. I mean, in terms of his work ethic, sort of aside from his mental strength, is he a hard worker? Does he sort of push himself to get better day in, day out? And clearly, still very young at 23, but already being spoken about as one of the next best goalkeepers in the world. He clearly had to work hard to get there.
Yeah, definitely. Like, as I said, his character is the main thing, which includes his hardworking mentality. I remember when he first joined Valencia, as I said, he was lean, but just a few months after that, just a couple of months after being in Spain, he was already becoming a monster. He was so muscular just after a couple of months because he was doing extra work every single day because his main competitor at the club back then was Silesen, the goalkeeper, like very experienced, with the experience of playing at the World Cup for the Dutch national team and playing for Barcelona. And basically, he was the main competitor for a young guy like Mamardashvili, who just basically had 1 or 2 seasons in Georgia. And the step up that he made was huge. And already he was in such a competition with such an experienced goalkeeper. So he knew that he had to put in extra work, and not just like extra, but like significantly extra work to get up to his level, and not only get up to his level, but be better than him. Because when you're a young goalkeeper from Georgia that nobody knows about, you have to do significantly more to be better than such an experienced goalkeeper like Silesen. But he definitely did. And because of that, he deserved the chance. The manager gave him his full trust. And in the first games, as I said, his performances were brilliant. Obviously, then his performances started to go down a bit because of his because he wasn't basically aware of the situation, the whole new league and everything. So he had to adapt, which for a young goalkeeper might not happen as quickly. But still, then after a few months at the end of the season, he once again received a chance. And basically, from then on, he was the first choice goalkeeper and still is today. So, yeah, I mean, his hardworking mentality is just outstanding. I mean, even in the national team, he's one of the most hardworking players that we have. And you can see him. I mean, his development not only on a technical level, as I said, but if you look at his clips from back in 2019, 2020, the physical development that he's gone through is just incredible. He's just a totally different player today.
No, absolutely he is, yeah, 100%. And he's always become a bit of a leader for that Georgia side, it looked like at the Euros. I mean, speak about terms of like obviously his attributes and how his skill set has developed down the years. But as a person, obviously he's grown a lot as well, it feels like. And he is almost that complete goalkeeper now. And I wanted to ask you, in terms of his strengths and of his weaknesses, you've touched on some of his strengths already along the way, but obviously Alisson Becker and goalkeeping in general now has become such a different game than it used to be back in the day. Like you've got to be so good with your footwork and so good at passing out your distribution. Giorgi Mamardashvili, are there any question marks about him in that department, or do you think he's got what it takes to sort of follow in the footsteps of somebody as good as Alisson?
Yeah, that's a good question. So I've said it the other time as well. If you, well, back in the days, like a few years ago, I would say that he was a very good line goalkeeper. And when just in the beginning of his career, when he was sent on loan from Dinamo Tbilisi to Lokomotiv Tbilisi, his coach was a guy who's basically in Georgia. He's famous for playing a possession style football, and he was constantly demanding the goalkeeper to play out from the back and to make some diagonal passes and passes to break the lines and everything, and to be like to perform well under pressure. And he was quite uncomfortable by doing that because, yeah, he was not as comfortable on the ball back then.
Mhm.
But like I think because the coach back then forced him to play like that, and also when he moved to Valencia, the perfect step, because in Spain, like you have to be good on the ball. Like if you are a goalkeeper, if you're a center forward or anything in between, you have to be good on the ball. So his goalkeeper coach is a very experienced guy who has worked with a lot of very experienced goalkeepers, such as Casillas as well, and many other Spanish national team goalkeepers. And despite the fact that Valencia don't always play out from the back end with this tiki-taka style, he still developed his footwork significantly under that goalkeeper coach, because he was basically demanding and forcing him to play out from the back. And I think the development and the progress that he has, especially in that department, I would say, especially in that, is significant. And I think, well, today he already is capable of doing that, and he's ready for the Premier League. And as you mentioned, I think if he is loaned out to Bournemouth for a year or maybe two, that will be just a perfect step for him, because of all the factors. Like you have to adapt. I believe he's an elite goalkeeper, but every player has to adapt to the Premier League, and because the style of play, the tempo, the fans, even the weather, the culture, the food, everything is absolutely different. And sometimes the weather and food and everything is underestimated, but it plays a huge role in adaptation. So it shouldn't be as underestimated as it is. So I think by loaning him out to Bournemouth, it's going to be just a perfect step for him.
Yeah, absolutely. It makes a lot of sense. And it might mean Alisson Becker sticks around for another 12, 18 months as well, which is absolutely fine before he leaves. And then hopefully passes the mantle on to Giorgi, who can become equally as brilliant for Liverpool Football Club. If you could compare him to anybody, Mika, who would it be? Obviously, it would be a goalkeeper. But is there anybody in terms of like maybe playing now or who's been playing previously, who's amongst the best that have been around? Is there anybody who sort of stands out? You think, okay, I can see a lot of Mamardashvili in that keeper?
Yeah. Yeah, I would say immediately, I would say Jan Oblak. I think he's a very similar player. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, Atletico Madrid had some interest as well, if I'm not mistaken, because of because of the similar profile of Jan Oblak and Mamardashvili. And I think he's very similar to Jan Oblak, but I think he can develop further and become very similar to Alisson as well in the next few years, maybe one or two. And I think once again, I think it fully depends on his loan, because that would allow him to adapt to that style of play. Well, at Bournemouth, they have a Spanish coach, so he will also force him to play that kind of football. So I think it's going to be just perfect.
Yeah, no, I tend to agree with you as well. I'm excited by it. Just on that, then you've said it there. Really, he could go on to become somebody like Alisson Becker, or as good as Alisson Becker. How high do you think his potential is? What we talk about here, one of the future best in the world, who's in the similar sort of bracket as your Thibaut Courtois, your Alisson Beckers, your Edersons, those sort of caliber of goalkeeper.
Yeah, definitely. I think he will be one of the best. Uh, and I think he has, well, all the ingredients to become at least top two, three, at least in the world. Uh, this might be a bold statement, but that's my personal opinion. Because from what I've seen, I think he has everything to do and to become that. And I really hope he joins Liverpool, because, I mean, what like that's gonna be just the how can I say, the pinnacle, you know. And I think, well, there's no better club for him to join at the moment. And I mean, to play in the Premier League, in such a league, for a young guy like him, it's going to be absolutely massive.
Yeah, absolutely. Just like him, absolutely massive. And I'll take the Jan Oblak comparison. I should have said a minute ago, I think Jan Oblak is an incredible goalkeeper, by the way. So that's absolutely fine by me. He came to Anfield with Atletico Madrid a couple of years ago in the Champions League and was just unbelievable, like
Yeah.
unbeatable, basically. He's so good, honestly. He's brilliant. Mika, absolute pleasure speaking to you. Thank you so much for your time and your insight on Giorgi Mamardashvili. Everybody else, I'll see and speak to you all again very soon. Take it easy.